Quantum Interface. Chapter 1. Africa, Friday, March 15, 2052. 8:47 p.m. local time near the southern coast of Ghana, West Africa. The dark cover of night blanketed the forest while the relentless chirping of crickets and occasional howls of monkeys masked the careful steps of a top American Special Forces team, stealthily moving through the dense foliage toward a remote mining village. Senses heightened and hearts pounding, they abhorred the moonlight that filtered through the thick foliage to cast eerie shadows on the forest floor. They wanted to rely solely on their instruments to guide them to their formidable foe, which consisted of Russian mercenaries and local militants. They were also aware that their enemies could engage them at any instant. Tension in the air increased with every step as they prepared for the imminent battle. Stay alert, everyone. We're outnumbered, but we have superior firepower and the element of surprise. Let's take them down swiftly and efficiently. These bastards have got to learn not to fuck with American interests, Captain Williams states over his radio in a low voice. Sergeant Johnson peered over at him and nodded through the darkness, adjusting his night vision goggles. Copy that, Captain. We're ready to engage these bastards on your command. According to their instruments, they were now less than 200 meters from the mine, but unbeknownst to them, their enemy was already aware of their presence and was waiting for them with heavy artillery as well. Suddenly, a Russian mercenary stepped into their path with an RPG launcher resting on his shoulder. "We've been made. Take cover," Captain Williams announced, and his team swiftly complied to take cover behind trees and on the forest floor. The Russian mercenary sneered. "Americans, your greed and control of the resources of this region is over. This is our territory now," Sergeant Johnson replied, his voice filled with determination. "We have agreements with the locals here. Your incursion ends tonight." "Agreements? Is that a joke? Take your imperialism back to America, IDI Nakui," the Russian shouted before launching his RPG seconds later. Branches snapped as the rocket lit up the darkness to eventually explode on a tree near the American team. Gunfire erupted as chaos ensued. Bullets flew in both directions, whizzing through the air, tearing leaves and branches apart. But as the battle waged, the American team utilized their superior tactics and advanced weapons to take down their enemies like target practice. Amongst the chaos, a group of African militants surrounded Private Ramirez, the front man, attempting to hold him hostage. He managed to kill and wound several of them before the others shot and chopped him to death. "Suppressive fire! Move forward! The enemy is retreating!" Captain Williams called out, prompting his remaining team members to intensify their fire. The Russian mercenaries and African militants fought fiercely, but the American Special Forces team's superior training and teamwork began to take its toll. Finally, after 30 minutes, the American team found themselves the only ones still shooting. To them, the enemy seemed to have cowardly retreated into the depths of the forest. "Cease fire! We did it, everyone! Excellent work," Captain Williams announced, his voice filled with relief. The team regrouped, reloaded, and assessed their losses before confidently marching toward the mine. As they went, dead and wounded militants laid about, and as the occasional militant got up to run, they only bumped into trees as if they couldn't see where they were going. Sergeant Johnson was puzzled by the quick defeat and confusion of the enemy and the increasing number of confused foes they were finding along the way. "These are the same guys that just engaged us, Captain. What gives?" "It's called superior firepower, Sergeant. They were unprepared for what hit them." After shooting those militants who refused to stop and lay down, they zip-tied the compliant. Suddenly, out of nowhere, hundreds of small light orbs appeared while floating harmlessly around them. Several soldiers attempted to either catch or swat the lights, believing that they were fireflies only to have the lights elude their every swipe. Captain Williams noticed the distraction. "Stay alert, men," he warned. "The mission is not over. We need to reach and secure the mine." But no sooner than he spoke, gasps filled the air, and one by one, his soldiers began to drop their guns to grasp at their eyes. Captain Williams soon succumbed to the same fate, so, in a panic, he yelled out for help on his radio. "Team to base! Team to base! We've been ambushed by some sort of nano-weapon. The entire team is down, requesting immediate extraction." Toronto, Canada, Friday, October 5th, 2057, 11:55 p.m. Ian Phillips found himself in an intriguing situation, lying in a bed between two naked women. Surprisingly, he didn't panic, but rather embraced the predicament, sensing that he knew the two women very well, and they were simply enjoying some adult fun that they'd engaged in countless times before. His attention drifted to the dimly lit and elegantly decorated room in which soft soul music conjured an atmosphere of opulence. A collection of wine and shot glasses on the side tables, coupled with his inebriated feeling, offered proof to his assessment that he must have just experienced a blackout. Unable to focus and overcome with passion, he turned his attention once again to the women and their naked and sweaty bodies, which was an indication that they had already engaged in intimate activities, and while kissing and caressing both, he tried his best to avoid suspicion. However, the more he tried, it was the more concerned he became about his mental health. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall the women's names or his own. At first, he couldn't even recall anything past the last 5 minutes, but soon his memories began to trickle in to somewhat ease his fears. Both women were incredibly attractive, Ian thought to himself, and each one possessed her unique physical qualities. The darker of the two women appeared younger, between 30 and 35 years old. Her skin was matte black, and her physique, slender yet toned. She also appeared to be taller than the other woman. The older woman was lighter in skin tone with short curly hair and a thicker physique. She also had a butt that could win a competition. Both of them egged him on with twists and moans while locking their legs around him, so Ian eagerly kissed them while continuing to explore their bodies.